Hi guys, today I'm going to show you my planning system for how I plan my life without technology, largely. The only exception is that I have a shared Google Calendar with my husband. The rest of it is all in planners, and this is my little system. I won't go through everything in this video because it will be a very long video, but I will create a playlist where I will go through each of these various systems that make up one big system. And in this video, I'm going to take you through my daily planner and pocket notebook, which makes up the forward-looking planning that I do on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis. And before I jump into this, I just want to say that I never used to plan anything. Like, not even really my day. I was a fly by the seat of my pants kind of gal, and I would wake up and I would just go. And I would say it worked for me, but it didn't. In retrospect, I was constantly stressed, constantly felt untethered, ungrounded, and there were many reasons for that, but one of them was that I didn't ever intentionally plan my time or my interests or my attention. And as someone with undiagnosed ADHD at the time, that was just a recipe for never really being intentional with anything in my life. It was always just following where my attention was grabbed by other people or other things. So this is a system that I have built up over the last couple of years, 18 months or so. And I purposefully don't use technology because, one, I get super distracted by it. And two, for whatever reason, my brain does not really gel with using my phone or my laptop for planning. For whatever reason, physically writing things down really helps me to shift things around and to prioritize and to remember what I have on. And I also like that it's, a physical thing that I carry around and get out and have to interact with, rather than my phone, which is, constantly there. And I used to spend so much of my time on my phone, but if you watch my videos recently, I've also switched to a flip phone. So this is another way of being able to keep my diary and my plans with me in my bag because it's small enough without needing to be reliant upon a smartphone. So this is my planner. It's from High Tide Co Limited, and it's a very simple planner. I carry this with me everywhere I go, and I keep a pen in the loophole so that I'm never without a pen to be able to use to plan. It has a year overview, it has a month overview, and it has a week overview. And at the back, I keep not only a list of addresses, because I don't have a smartphone anymore, so I like to keep them on me at all times, but also a field notes pocket notebook. This is essentially a scrap piece of paper in my mind. This is where, when I'm out and about during the day and I have a thought, any thought, I will write it down if I don't want to forget it. This can span things like to-dos. It can span quotes that I come across that I find inspiring. It can serve as a memo pad when I'm, for example, having a call with a friend and I want to remember what they've told me. I will write a note in here. It's scruffy, and it's meant to be a space where I can go to make a note and deal with it later. So let's take a look. It's very simple. I go for the plain paged one. I put the date at the top, and then, as you can see, I just make notes as I go along. This is kind of what it looks like day to day. Some days I have more to write, some days I have less to write, some days I doodle. It's very messy, but I kind of love it because all of my other notebooks are really neat and I like them that way. But I need somewhere to be able to be messy so that I can translate that mess into neatness in my other books, if that makes sense. So once I've gone through the day, let's take this day as an example. These are to-dos and these are longer term plans. This happens to be a plan that I have for a work project that won't be something like a to-do that I can just do tomorrow, for example. So for big projects like that, you can see I've written here big project inspirations. I'll draw a big grey box around them to differentiate them from everything else, because I find that these big project ideas are the kind of ideas that come to me and I feel like a genius and I feel like it's going to be the best plan ever, best idea ever, and then I just forget about them. So when I write them in here, I know that they're caught somewhere, and I put a big grey box around them so that when I do my monthly planning, my weekly planning, my daily planning, I can refer to them and quickly see, actually, do I want to start working on this idea, or do I want to leave it till a later date? I'll show you when we go through this how that works in more detail. Once at the end of the day, I've sorted out which were to-dos, which were big project plans, I'll then shift whatever I've put in here into other books in my planning system. So if it's a to-do, I'll shift it into my planner. If it's a quote that I want to capture, I'll shift it into one of my appropriate commonplace books. These are my commonplace books, which I'll make another video on. And if it's something like a memory of the day that I want to keep, then I'll shift it into my journal. And once I've done that process of shifting the information from here into my other planner systems, I'll simply cross it off and then know that I've dealt with it. So that's my Field Notes pocket notebook, which just sits at the back in this handy little spot. The first part of this journal that I use is the monthly section. So at the beginning of each month, I will look at my Google Calendar, which I have shared with my husband, and I will write out all of the scheduled events, appointments, anything that has a time restriction on it will go in this schedule, so I can see, as an overview, how busy I'm going to be each week of the month, which helps me with energy management. I like to be able to have this bird's eye quick view. And then at the bottom, I use this space to make my monthly plan. So the idea behind the monthly plan is not to be too specific, because if I'm too specific with myself, I don't end up wanting to do the thing. I get very avoidant and I end up just self-sabotaging. So the point of the monthly plan for me is to plan from a place of inspiration and like creative ideas. So I will write down, basically brain dump in here what exactly I want to focus on in that month, and that will cover things like my creative project that I want to focus on, exactly what creative project I want to get done, and also more sort of personal things, I guess, like if birthdays are coming up, what kind of birthday presents I want to get for friends and family, any trips that I want to take, any special events that I want to plan, all that sort of stuff. That will all go here as like an overview so that I can keep track of how I'm going throughout the month at actually meeting these goals. And then I will also take a post-it note and transfer my monthly plan onto the post-it note to stick into the week so that I can see it every single time I open my diary. Because the issue I find with monthly plans is that even if I do them, I forget that they exist, because on a daily or weekly basis, I'm not really looking at them. So I need a visual reminder that these are what I'm working towards in the weeks. And that helps me. It basically means that I can pull this off, and in the week following, I can, put it back in there and keep going until the end of, in this case, January, and do the same for the following months. And whilst I'm creating my monthly plan, if there's something that I think of, but I know that I'm not going to get it done that month, then I will add it to the following month. So I've created this future log system where, say, for example, I remember, oh, actually in February, I want to do this project where I want to learn to crochet. Then I know that I'm not going to do it in January because I don't have time, but I don't want to forget about the fact that I want to learn to crochet. So I will stick it or write it in my future log for February. And it's not actually in the diary because it's on this post-it note. So it's sort of like a draft. And it means that when I come to do my monthly planning for February, I can remember what I had intended or thought I might want to cover in February, and then assess whether I want to actually put it in my February monthly plan or whether I want to shift it back again to March. I might put it in my future log here so that I don't forget. This is also where I will look at my field notes book, and I will just look back at the previous month of notes and pull out any of the big project ideas or anything else that I want to make sure is noted in my monthly plan. And again, if one of the big ideas, like here I've got design washi tape, I want to design washi tape, right? If I know that I'm not going to be able to do that in January, then I won't put it in my monthly plan. I will put it in, say, for example, I know of the summer I'm going to have more time. I will go to my log for June and I'll write design washi tape in there so that when I get to June, I don't forget, oh, I was going to design some washi tape. Like, hopefully I have time now. At the end of each week on a Sunday, I will look at my monthly plan and I will transfer all of the, so say for the, for the first, I will transfer all of my scheduled appointments that are in the week of the 1st of January into the week spread page so that I can become familiar with what I've got coming up in the week. And of course, sometimes plans change. So if they do, then I'll just strike them out. As part of my Sunday planning for the week ahead, I have also, up until very recently, been adding in a habit tracker that I drew on Procreate. I have now decided to move this to my journal because, loosely speaking, I see this planner as a forward planning planner. So when I'm thinking about what I want to do in the future, I use this space to plan that. Whereas I use my journal, which is this one, for anything that already has happened. So it's a retrospective log of what I actually ended up doing. And I feel as though my habits fit more neatly into the logbook than they do into planning because they're things that have already happened. I write my to-do lists on a daily basis. So the night before, I write my to-do list. That's because when I wake up without a to-do list or any idea of what I'm going to do for the day, I genuinely don't do anything. I freeze. I just kind of forget that I could write a to-do list, and I just end up doing nothing and I can't explain it. It just happens. So I always try and write a to-do list the night before. And of course, sometimes I don't. Like, I've just been on a trip and I didn't really plan much whilst I was there because everything was like dependent upon other people. But when I got back, I immediately was like, I have to start planning again just to get into the flow of things. So again, I'll get my field notes notebook and I will look back at the day before. I'll pull any to-dos that I'd written down whilst I was out and about into the day, and I'll do a brain dump. So brain dump is basically anything that's not self-care. It includes to-dos, walking my dog, paying bills, anything I just need to remember to pay attention to in that day will go in my brain dump. Self-care wise, that's things like taking a bath, doing my evening journaling, sketchbooking, playing with my dog, having dinner with my husband, like those sorts of things. Because I don't want to look at my planner and only see to-dos. That just fills me with dread. And it honestly puts me into a place of like hyper productivity where I feel like life is not worth living unless I've done my entire to-do list, which sounds extreme, but like I get stuck in spirals of like hyper focus and productivity around my to-dos, and I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself and looking after my energy levels. And so having a visual reminder of the self-care items is really helpful, even though they're basically things I do every day. Like, they are habits at this point. Taking a bath, I do that every day, but it is so important to me to be regulated, so I make sure that I write it down. And then that's kind of it. I don't go into detail in this planner about what order I will do things in the day, but I do that in my journal. So I will share in another video the next step of planning that I do on a daily basis that revolves around time blocking. But this serves as a really helpful reminder for what I have to do in the day. And once I've done it, I will simply cross it off. If I don't get to it that day for whatever reason, I'll put an arrow, like you can see there, a little arrow, which just means I'm moving it to the next day. And if it's an event, I do a clear circle. And if it's a task, I do a solid dot. It's just a key system that helps me to like quickly see the balance of my day, basically. I used to also make a note of how many pages I read in the day in here, but again, because I'm deciding to see this as like a future planner and to see my journal as a log of what I have done, I've moved my reading log into my journal. So again, I'll cover that in another video when I show you more in depth in my journal. And that's it really. If you have any questions about this planning system, please just let me know in the comments. I've tried my best to explain. I know it's quite an intuitive process for me that's always changing and I'm always iterating it, so I'm sure that I'll have more updates in the future. I would be very keen to hear your experiences if you do anything similar, or if you have any suggestions. I'm always open to suggestions. And yeah, I'll come back to talk to you again about my journal and also about my commonplace books in another video in this series. This is just my system that I'm constantly evolving and changing. In fact, I have another notebook on the way in the post. So I will continue to update you guys on, how I change it over time. But I wanted to mention that because I used to be the kind of person that would look things up online and be like, I have to do their system to a T in order for it to work. But I just don't think that's the case. I think that in me sharing my system, it might be that you watch this and you think, oh, that's a nice idea, I'll use that in my system, and your system will end up looking completely different to mine, as a whole, because you're going to be taking inspiration from lots of different places, just as I have done. And that for me was key in becoming invested in the process of planning. And I actually really look forward to doing this every day, every week, every month now, which I cannot say for my previous self. Thank you for watching, and as ever, if you feel inclined to support this channel, then you can go over to Substack to subscribe to my newsletter. You can subscribe for free, or you can upgrade your subscription to £5 a month. I appreciate every single one of you, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye.